Steve Bowers welcoming you to Dialogue here at E+ TV6 on a conversation with Kyle Spurgeon, who's the president of the Chamber, which is now the Greater...
That's right, Steve. Greater Jackson Chamber. That's
Greater
right.
Jackson Chamber. Not that it wasn't great before, but it's broadening the identity, I guess. Again.
Yeah, and that's it. It's a branding deal. When we changed back last year, I had several people ask, what took you so long?
Okay.
Well,
at one time it was the Jackson Area Chamber.
Jackson Area Chamber.
And then it came back, right?
You've got a great memory. We're just talking about...
Well, yeah, I've lived through it all, right?
But we work as a regional organization. And so we put that brand on what we do. And there's numerous stories about that. And I've had some people say, does this mean you're trying to take over other chambers? No, just the opposite. We want to help.
Right.
We're fortunate to have a $1.5 million budget, got a staff of 11. And if you look at chambers located throughout West Tennessee, a lot of them are 1- and 2-person operations that they absolutely kill it with the number of folks they have. Right. But we just have a team of experts that we want to be able to put them out in the region to help other chambers because all this growth is coming.
Right. And the recognition is if it helps these communities, it helps Jackson.
100%. I tell folks when the Tyson project located in Humboldt, the first inquiry about that project came to Mandy White, who's our Chief Economic Development Officer. Wasn't a fit for Jackson. She asked, could I recommend some other communities to you? So she did.
Wow.
The project wound up in Humboldt.
Okay. We'll see more of that, right?
Every day,
yeah,
yes.
It's going to happen. Well, the big elephant in the room, I guess, but people are talking about this one, not ignoring, is Blue Oval.
Right.
And I mean, I take it that is a transformational change for everybody.
Yes, and so we've been talking about it. You know, the project was announced, I think, September 28th of 21.
Okay.
And now, almost a year and a half later, we continue to use that word transformational. But I'm trying to change the narrative a little bit and letting people know that, okay, we understand we've got 5,600 new jobs coming, $5.8 billion investment. We're all excited about that. But you have to know that this year, you're going to see billions of dollars more in new announcements and thousands of more jobs on top of that.
Is that right?
That's the level of growth that is coming.
So we're back almost to the days like when Procter & Gamble and all these people were coming in where it was just like, they were just new industrial announcements all the time, right? Yeah, and then we went through a period of slowdown, significant period of slowdown.
And where it's positioned us as the chamber is, we're being extremely selective. What you will see, the projects we're going to announce will be more advanced manufacturing, lower employment counts, and higher capital expenditures. That's the type of stuff that we are recruiting now. You know, the worst thing a community can do in a situation like this is just take anything that comes. And because not all development is good development. It's not a question of are we going to grow, it's how we're going to grow.
Okay. The other thing is with operation like Ford and with Blue Oval is they're the suppliers and everything else that will feed this, and that's an unknown area. I mean, as to how much or they will locate where. Will they locate here or within 20, 30 miles, 50 miles, 150 miles? I mean, I don't really know how the feeder system works.
You can answer that to a certain extent. Several of the suppliers will locate on site, and what Ford has told us is 25% of their suppliers will locate on site.
On site, okay.
I can't give you the number that's 25% of what. Although I can tell you that some of those suppliers that will locate on site are already beginning that process at the mega site. So you'll see announcements later this year about how that is working, who those companies are, and it's not a secret that that's going to happen. It's just a secret of who they are and what the capital expenditure of those projects is going to be. After that, you get into the Tier 2 suppliers and where they will be located. Obviously, a Jackson falls right into that. We're starting to see supplier activity already, but a lot of it's only a trickle. The thing is, though, these projects are moving extremely fast, and the communities that will benefit most are the ones that over the last few decades have invested in industrial parks. Their utilities, like Jackson Energy Authority, have invested in the infrastructure. Those communities that have not done that, they're going to miss the first wave of this growth.
Okay. The other thing that comes up, I guess, is the mega site obviously attracted Ford and many aspects of that, water access and so many other things that went into that. But then we've had, with the Dixie Cup folks that are coming in here, I mean, we've had other cities. What attracts those companies to Jackson or to West Tennessee?
Yeah,
Just like Tyson, they're looking at West Tennessee. Why particularly?
So it starts with location. And I've always used three things: location, workforce, and ability to close the deal. What we're seeing now is, and again, I mentioned earlier, the growth is coming. To close those deals, it's your ability to build quick and strong relationships with companies and people you know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
We're right now working on a project where that has happened, and it's happened very rapidly. And if we're able to close the deal, it's going to be something that's at a level that'll surprise a lot of folks.
Right.
But it's the relationships. And one of the things that we talk about a lot that I think many people don't really understand is in Jackson, it's an anomaly across the country how close we work together as a team. It's the city, the county, JEA, the chamber, state of Tennessee, Jackson Energy Authority, all at the table. We don't care who gets credit. We've done that so long that a lot of folks just think, well, it's common. But when you go in other parts of the state and other parts of the country, you might have a utility that's fighting with the city. City and county here don't always get along, but I can tell you, no matter who the mayors are, they're working to recruit that industry.
Okay. Well, just like JA is such a unique company because it's got all these different companies in under one umbrella.
Right.
Where you go to Nashville, well, the electric system is totally separate from the gas system. It's totally separate from everything else. Water, wastewater, all these things are some municipally owned, some independent, and it's like, wow, you have to herd cats just to get the utility guys in before you get all the other elements.
Yeah. So pulling back the curtain a little bit, let's say we're sitting here today and we're recruiting an industry to Jackson or working with an existing industry who's looking to expand. John Nanny is always there. It's on your team. It's the VP of Business and Industrial Development. As we're doing our presentation, oftentimes what I'll lead in with before John talks is, okay, here's this guy, John Nanny. You're going to get his cell phone number. You already know his company does water, wastewater, electric, gas, and broadband. If you have any issue at your plant, you pick up the phone, you call John. Oh, plus you get one bill that's got all of that on it.
Yeah.
You don't get that anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, okay.
And that's a huge selling point for us.
Okay, interesting thing. I know also the Chamber has been really active in positioning Jackson as a community. You want some of these managers at Blue Oval to live here.
That's right.
And they can live anywhere, Brownsville, they can live in Arlington, they can live anywhere, Union City, whatever, but you're wanting to live in Jackson. Yeah. How's that going? And what do you say about this city when you bring them here?
It's going extremely well. I spoke yesterday at an event in Memphis, and there was a lot of folks from the Memphis area and surrounding communities there. And we all continue to brag about how we're working together, and we work together to get Ford here.
Right.
And we're going to work together to make sure Ford and all their suppliers are successful. But I said, make no mistake about it, we're competing for people. And in Jackson, we're keeping count because we're competitive. And those Ford executives, the executives with the suppliers, it's not a question of are they coming to West Tennessee. It's a question of where they're going to live.
Right.
And we want them to live in Jackson. Now, if they don't choose to live in Jackson and they go to Haywood County or Crockett County, that's still a win for us. Sure. So that's the way we're positioning it. I can tell you that back in January, we had 23 Ford execs here from around the world. There was several from Europe, several from Mexico, several domestically. Okay. Out of that group, 10 are relocating. We've already got several of those folks who have bought houses in Jackson.
Wow. I want to find out why. We'll do that next as we continue. Kyle Spurgeon is with us, and this is Dialogue at E+ TV 6. Welcome back to Dialogue at E+ TV 6. Kyle Spurgeon is with us, and he is the president, CEO of the Greater Jackson Area Chamber, right?
Greater Jackson Chamber. You added an extra word.
Yeah. That's right. It goes back to Jackson. Greater Jackson Chamber of Commerce, or Chamber here in Jackson, Tennessee. All right, so you got these Ford executives coming. So what do you tell them about Jackson? You're wanting them to live here, so you say what?
So we go through several things. One of the big selling points initially is you live in Jackson. Not only do you have access to all the quality of life amenities here, and we'll drill down into that in a second, but you get the quality of life stuff you may like in Memphis, plus Nashville.
Right.
Memphis can't sell Nashville.
Right.
It's 3.5 hours away. For us, it's 2 hours away. Nashville is one of our assets. Then you sell a rapidly improving public school system. If your kids are interested in going to private school, our private schools here, tuition rates are 50 to 60% of the cost of those private schools in
Elsewhere,
Memphis.
yeah.
That's a big selling point. And the fact that our private schools and our public school administration and leaders actually talk to each other, that's a big selling point too.
Okay.
Housing, we have to improve. Our home builders here are stretched. We need to stand up in West Tennessee thousands of new homes. In Jackson-Madison County, we need to stand up hundreds of new homes. That right now it's tough for us to do. We're going to have the opportunity over the next 3 to 4 years to relocate or have cause to move into Jackson up to about 4,000 new people. Just in the next few years.
Okay.
That's an opportunity. It doesn't mean that many are coming because we have to have the housing stock to do that.
Okay. So elements that you don't control, but then you try to encourage, I guess. Then.
That's exactly
So,
right.
So as the chamber, then you start talking to builders? Is that part of it?
This was fun. So back in 21, that summer, those of us that were involved in the Ford project, and the code name was Project Aurora, we were all locked down. Non-disclosure agreements, we couldn't talk about it. But what we could do was position our local businesses and tell them, hey, I can't tell you what, but something really big is about to happen. Okay. So in the summer of 21, we started working with our home builders and bringing them up to speed, just letting them know, hey, this is coming. JEA's been a part of those conversations. Recently, JEA had another meeting with the developers here.
Okay.
That growth opportunity is here. We want to make sure that our local home builders and developers have first crack at that.
Okay.
Because all the growth potential here is gaining the attention of national home builders.
Okay.
But when you work at a chamber or you're an elected official or anybody, you want to take care of the folks that are here first.
Right.
And so our local home builders and developers have had first crack at it. They continue to do that. But I fully expect over the next 6, 12, 18 months, you're going to start hearing more about national home builders looking at this area.
In your role, and you're sitting here and you're directing the chamber, all right? You've got individual business members that are, it's a membership organization.
That's right.
And their needs are specific to their business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And networking opportunities, well, I mean, you got all this stuff going on. Then you're involved in this industrial recruitment, development, whatever. There's commercial that comes along inside that. All of those are members of the chamber, right? And then, and then when you get into industrial recruitment and all, well, that gets you into education and utilities and all this other stuff. So how do you decide what you're going to do when you wake up in the morning, right? I mean, that's a strong multiple-purpose organization. It's like, what does the chamber do? We do a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
right?
Jim Campbell said this probably a decade ago, and I've always remembered it and took it as a huge compliment, and it still is.
Right.
And it's because of the folks that started really pushing and building this chamber 30 to 40 years ago. But we have the seat. We have a seat at the table for every major discussion in this community. Okay. And that is something that we don't take for granted.
Right. It doesn't exist everywhere.
It does not exist everywhere. Okay. And something that has changed, though, since the Blue Oval announcement is we have a staff of 11 people. We're at capacity right now. Mm-hmm. Everyone is working 10, 12 hours a day because there's so much coming at us. Mm-hmm. That's not a complaint, that's just reality. What that does, it makes we've got to target our time better, and we're doing that. It means some projects that we may have been involved in the past, we simply can't be there. Not that it's not important, right. But when you've got...
So it's the priorities shift then?
Priorities are shift, yes, that's exactly right.
Wow.
But we got to make sure, one of the biggest things I want to make sure we do is take care of our existing industry here. Mm-hmm. And that's not just the chamber. JEA understands that, the mayors understand that, because every day someone asks us about Blue Oval City. Well, Kellogg's is expanding. Mm-hmm. Delta Faucet continues to make great faucets here. Mm-hmm. 7 Japanese automotive suppliers. Those companies are expanding. That's just as important as Blue Oval City.
Blue Oval City, yeah. And then you got individual business members. Like I said, your membership is composed of a bunch of folks. Yeah. All different levels, right?
In some of those businesses, when we do new member orientation, I talk about a chamber's role is multifaceted. It used to be people would look at the chamber and go, hey, you're recruiting jobs here, you're successful at it, I'm going to join. And it used to be that easy.
Right.
Now, folks need to see more than that. With some people, it's more of an experiential presence, events and networking. Others, I tell people, it's not always our job to make your cash register ring, but it is our job to create a better environment for you to where you have more customers that can make it ring.
Which is the key with industrial crew and everything else, right? And the population, which adds to retail, which adds to everything, and all that other. So your staff then of 11 people are targeted, I guess, in some senses, right?
Yes, and I'll just start. So Mandy White is our Chief Economic Development Officer, and she spends time recruiting new companies. Where her time is also getting stretched is that, let's just say with Georgia Pacific, Dixie Jackson.
Right.
When you recruit the company, and recruitment's fun, our team loves it. The hard work starts when they say yes and you do the announcement. So now Mandy spends a lot of her time in meetings where she is working with JEA, the state of Tennessee, and others on making sure that project gets started up the proper way.
Right.
When we recruit another company, more meetings on top of that. Recruit another one. So you have to help these companies start up. We've got Vicki Bunch, who is our Chief Workforce Development Officer. And so Vicki works with our universities, our colleges, TCAT, public school system, connecting them to existing industry and new industry. Russell Cook, who is leaving to go over to you guys are taking all of our people. And you got an eye for talent.
Well, you stole one or two from us.
Well, you're exactly right. Yeah, one of them's coming back. Ryan. Russell Cook's our Chief Financial Officer. We'll be replacing him with a manager of accounting. So it'll grow into that. Then you look at our membership team with Christy and Cammie managing that, and they're absolutely killing it. Lauren Saliba runs our Leadership University, Leadership Jackson programs. Then we've got Joyce downtown or downstairs.
Right.
If you've ever come in the chamber, you see Joyce, she's smiling.
Right.
She welcomes you to the office. Rachel Tucker works in our economic development group, doing a lot of research for us. Lindsay Dawkins is a person that's a VP of Investor Relations. And I tell folks, Lindsay not only does that, but she makes all of us better in what we do. Dr. Kyle Barron from Jackson State will be joining us at the end of March, replacing Ryan Porter in that position. Kyle's title will be Chief Community Development Officer. And I'm sitting here thinking, I believe I hit everybody. Because if I didn't,
we were talking to Ryan just a moment ago that was with JA, went to chamber, now coming back to JA.
That's right.
And of course, Kyle was with JA as well. So a lot of interplay there. And then, Kyle, this assessing priorities, right, and changing and trying to stay focused, and yet you have a multiplicity of things to do out there. And I guess that's going to have to happen on a continued basis. I guess it has always happened.
It has, and one of the things...
But it may be a little more intensified now.
Yeah, something that has changed. We've had great relationships with every mayor we've ever worked with. Those mayors' priorities are different, and they help the communities grow in different ways. With Mayor Conger, he is really interested in making sure the quality of life in Jackson improves, the appearance improves. Before, the chamber really carried that mantle about quality of life and community development type stuff. Now, we don't have to lead on it as much. We can be a part of the team. For community beautification, I tell people, we've got all these opportunities for people to move to Jackson. So think about if you're selling your house, you're going to mow your grass. And that's what this community has to continue to do. And unfortunately, sometimes if there's trash out somewhere or the mattress on the side of the road, they're blaming the city or county government. Well, somebody had to put that out there first. And so there needs to be more personal responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen in the first place.
Kyle Spurgeon is with us. He's president and CEO of the chamber, the Greater Jackson Chamber.
We're going to get this right.
Before it's over with. I've got too much memory and too many other things. Been here too long, right? We'll continue this dialogue in just a moment here at E+ TV6. Welcome back to Dialogue at E+ TV6 as we continue a conversation with Kyle Spurgeon, who's the president and CEO of Greater Jackson Chamber, and been a friend and colleague for a long time.
Absolutely.
Worked at JA and all this, so some real history here. When you look at, and you've been involved because you work with the state and economic development and everything else, and we went through a decade or so when it was, right, I mean, the inquiries were just not coming, not like they had been.
Yeah, because when you look at it...
of course, that's a national, international thing, right?
Yeah, Jackson in the 90s was the Clarksville and the Murfreesboro that you're experiencing today.
Okay.
We beat both of those communities. Clarksville and Murfreesboro are lucky enough to be in close proximity to Nashville.
Nashville, okay.
So you look at the growth that has happened there, and not only are they great communities, but they've got this huge community that became one of the hottest places in the world, and still is. So they benefit from that growth.
Yeah.
So Jackson, we were located all these industries in the 90s. Throughout the early 2000s and 2010s, we located a few more, but we really paid attention to our existing industries and helped them grow. Okay. So we continued to grow. Right. What really affected us was the net loss of residents in West Tennessee, because we're the hub city. We're called that for a reason. But when you have your rural communities losing population, that hurts. Now that's going to do a 180. Yeah. And so Jackson, you see us now, Clarksville's making all these announcements, and now Jackson's making all these announcements. And we've got the best industrial sites in the state of Tennessee. And we're going to be very selective about who takes those. And so you mentioned the 90s. We're getting back to that. We're going to exceed what we did in the 90s. Okay.
Well, I just said that there was growth. It just, we got used to, Chamber making another announcement, right? I mean, we just, and then it kind of gets quiet. Of course, quiet doesn't mean there's not activity. There are many things going on within the existing industry. You were talking about Jackson just a moment, like with the companies that are coming in. What finally turns it for them? I know maybe location can be, as you say, the thing, the livability. What becomes the?
It's team.
Okay.
It really. I know a lot of folks may hear me say that, and if I speak at an event, they hear it. But it really is, because these companies that are looking at this area now, many of them have a choice to be, okay, if they're supplying, let's just say they're supplying the electric vehicle battery industry. All right. Not all of them are going to be captive to Ford. Ultium in Spring Hill can be a customer, Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz down in Tuscaloosa. So they do have choices. Now, a lot of the Ford suppliers must be located in this area. Okay. When we get down to, we're on a short list of 3 communities, it is our people and our team building a relationship. That closes the deal. All right.
How much has this changed since you got started in it? So, as far as the project, I mean, Franklin Smith, to his credit, with the mega site, and it was just the fact Haywood County's population was going down every census, and it's like, we got to do something. We got to do something in Haywood County. Right. Our people are leaving, and our young people are leaving as a result, and so it's just that spiral, right? And West Tennessee was experiencing that. Right.
I started in this business in the early 90s. When I started, I knew people that had been doing it since the 60s and 70s. Okay. So I didn't experience this, but I know stories about in the 60s and 70s, you would go to cities like Chicago and New York, you would drive up there with your mayors, your economic development person, a few others, and you would take a trunk load of Jack Daniels with you, and you would take people out and do all kinds of things at night and build relationships. Okay. That's how it worked in the 60s and 70s. Into the 90s, then you started seeing companies. They would hire consultants to manage the economic development process. And back in the 90s, we probably had 1 or 2 consultants here a month visiting Jackson, just kicking tires, or they'd kick that tire and like it and then come back and do a full site visit. With the advent of the internet, site selection became site elimination. We get looked at continuously on projects we know nothing about. And for one reason or another, we may get eliminated. Okay. Then with COVID, virtual site visits became a thing. Wow. And it's actually made our jobs somewhat easier because when a company finally visits you, so we'll do a virtual site visit, and during COVID, we were actually doing visits to we had a drone up in the air doing live looks at a site because companies couldn't visit. Now that technology has enabled consultants and companies to sit in, Taiwan, wherever, Japan, Taiwan, China, Europe, look at a site, narrow it down to 3 sites, then make those visits. So it's changed a lot, but it's really for the better.
Okay. And so and technology becomes a real part of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We both have high regard for John Williams, the late John Williams, and that telecom presence in Jackson that was not going to be here unless somebody built it.
That's exactly. And now, and I look at my kids.
Yeah.
When they've gone off to college, it's like, we don't have the speeds we have in Jackson. We're used to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you travel or you move away from here, if you don't move to a gig community, it's like, we don't appreciate now. 20 years later, we're used to it.
It become a thing. The momentum, I would think, also when the Georgia Pacific comes here, when Ford comes to West Tennessee, so it makes international news. I mean, Ford's that big a deal. It's a big deal, right? That's got to change. And suddenly, well, what are they seeing, right, that we may have missed? I mean, it's got to bring new looks or momentum, right? I mean, it's like, well, okay, they went to where? They went to Haywood County.
One of the things that's been very interesting in meeting these Ford execs that are moving, let's just say if you're moving with Ford, I might say to you, well, gosh, you have to move from Michigan or Spain or wherever. No. Oh, no, Kyle, I get to. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be a part of this kind of startup, which will be the most advanced automotive manufacturing facility in the world when it opens. That's how they view it.
Okay.
We oftentimes take for granted what we have here in West Tennessee. And when we're selling this community, as we start drilling into it, I said, you figured out we don't have a beach. We don't have mountains. But you can be at those places pretty quick, relatively quick. You can drive or fly. But dang, we have great people. And that's what makes the difference. And I know it may sound cliche or something, but when you have people visit here, and 99% of the time their interactions are great. We did have a Ford exec's wife who was here, and she went to get her nails done at a spot just because she needed to have that done while she was here. And the folks doing it were telling her every reason she shouldn't live in Jackson. We were able to save that. I'm saying there's some pretty unhappy people.
Yeah, right.
But it literally is our biggest asset is our people.
Yeah, okay. Never forget one day, I was living in Memphis in the mid-'80s. And, some people walked in. I forget what restaurant it was, right off exit 12. And they said, hey, can we tell us how to get to Grace? Guy behind the counter says, nobody in Memphis goes to Grace. Right? I mean, and they were thrilled to be in Memphis, right? They're finally
100%.
Yeah. And so I said, well, you have to reorient your folks and say, hey, what you say is important, right? What you say is important. But the momentum is coming. Well, it is our way right now. We're being talked about all over the world.
Yeah, we're being talked about all over the world. The Ford project is generating so much interest, but then this next wave is coming that, again, we're all so excited right now, but just wait a few more months till you hear what else is
coming up. All right, can't wait to do that. Well, I think about, as you talk about people and the quality of, we have a medical center here. You can fish and boat, and you can go see professional sports teams. Like I said, we can go to Memphis or Nashville.
That's right.
College athlete. But then I think also, just like within our own community, I mean, how many communities have 5 colleges, and all, I mean, we have all this great presence here that has, symphony and all this other. I mean, we have a lot of things going on here that you just don't find elsewhere. Ballparks reopened. And
when we drive people through the medical center campus, whoa. A town this size has that? And then you talk about an independent league baseball team with a 6,000-seat stadium, a symphony, all the shows at the NED. We do have a great quality of life. What is happening out at Middle Fork Bottoms.
Yes.
All these great things are happening. And I get it. If you live here and just running about your life every day, you sometimes take it for granted.
Okay.
But you live here for a reason because it's a great place.
Jackson, Tennessee, what America was meant to be.
I remember that one.
Right. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Steve.
Appreciate it so very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Kyle Spurgeon with us, and he is the president of Greater Jackson Chamber. Did I get it right?
Yes, sir.
Greater Jackson Chamber. Stay with us here at E+ TV6 because this is the place where the dialogue continues.